All right, 22 minutes after 8 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. I was driving through the mountains one time and going through a tunnel through the mountains, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder what this was like when the road crew came up to this point and the guy in charge said, hey, the boss, the big boss, wants us to drill a hole through this mountain and put a road in there. Mm-hmm. I wonder what the other guys said. They go, oh my God, really? We got to cut a hole in the mountain? And so what is it like in NASA? Like when they're all sitting around a table, hey, the boss wants us to go get a rock from an asteroid. We got to figure out how to do this.
That's right.
It's amazing. Right. When somebody decides there's a goal and how to do it, it gets done. And it's the amazing minds that make that stuff get done, whether it's drilling a hole in a mountain or getting a sample from an asteroid. It's just amazing to me when you hear the stories about how this happens. Dr. Jim Garvin is on the phone. He is the chief scientist for NASA Goddard, and he's talking exactly about that. Today, I think, is the day, if my notes are right, that the spaceship or whatever it is that's going to go to this asteroid is going to be slingshotted. Is that the word? Is that the verb? Slingshotted from the Earth's atmosphere? I mean, gravity? I don't know how that all works. It's called OSIRIS-REx, the spacecraft. How about that, huh? Dr. Jim Garvin, good morning, sir. How are you? What an honor.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. It's my honor.
Yeah. So, am I right? Today's the day that we get the slingshot effect for the OSIRIS-REx?
Absolutely. Today we're taking our refrigerator-sized robotic spacecraft, bristling with instruments, cameras, lasers, all this stuff, and we're going to use the Earth, with a game day assist kind of event to sling it off in space, change the angle of its trajectory, moving at nearly 20,000 miles an hour, and change it so it can get to the asteroid Bennu, which is really no bigger than, a few football stadiums across. So we can really get to know what our planet was like and our solar system billions of years ago.
Now, how do we know that? How do we know that information applies to that conclusion? How do we know that that rock is somehow related to us?
Well, here's what we think, okay, and this is why we do these missions, and that's a great question, by the way. First, we know that our Earth is a really amazing dynamic place, a spaceship in all rights, and that carries us through space, and it's really changing a lot all the time. It's just the way the Earth works. Continents drifting, dinosaurs coming and going, all that. But the early time, billions of years ago, our planet was different. The whole solar system was. And we know that from meteorites that have fallen, thanks to Mother Nature, onto Earth. But some of the building blocks, the places where those meteorites are from, are preserved in asteroids. They're kind of like islands in space. And we've identified this one, Bennu, because it has the kind of color, spectral characteristics, if you will, of materials that contain carbon, organic molecules, even potentially water. Now frozen in the minerals and the stuff. So we want to go and touch and taste and high-five and return that stuff, those priceless samples to Earth.
That is fascinating. So it's not just sending information about that stuff, it's actually bringing a piece back?
Absolutely. We're going to bring back somewhere maybe as much as a couple of pounds of asteroid stuff to Earth. Landing in the desert of Utah will be compartmentalized, sent to Houston, to Johnson Space Center, then distributed to the scientists, the women and men all over the world interested in this kind of thing.
Wow, that is fascinating. And once it gets here, how do you study it? Do you already have information from the spacecraft itself?
Well, we're not at the asteroid yet. We need this Earth gravity assist to get there. Once we get there, we're going to map it at scales as fine as, in some places, human hairs as we get close, and make a kind of special recon so we know where to collect the sample. Then we'll do the high five, get the sample, and then back here on Earth, in laboratories, we can look at things at nanoscales to see what they're made of and where they came from.
Wow, and it's amazing that you can land there. It's like we arrive 3 hours late from the airport, and we say, how come NASA can get to the asteroid exactly at the second that you
exactly? Yeah. It's fascinating stuff.
It's a funny comparison, but is part of the reason is because there's nothing to interfere? Like space has got no interference at all, virtually.
Well, Space is a big place. I mean, countably infinite, really. But we're really good at using what is in space to get to the right place at the right time. It's kind of like the dance you'd have at a football game when you see that beautiful long pass when the receiver catches the ball, even though he's running into it. We're doing that at the asteroid with this gravity assist, and we can get there at the right time. We can match velocities. The people that control and navigate these spacecraft are just brilliant, and they give us the ability to do these amazing things.
So when was OSIRIS-REx launched? When did it begin its trip?
So we launched it last September 8th last year. It's been flying in space for over a year. It'll use this gravity assist so it can arrive at the asteroid next summer. Then it will start mapping with this rendezvous orbit. It'll do some rehearsals. Then it will do the high-five touch and go, collecting the samples up to a couple pounds, bringing them back to Earth in 2023 for generations to study.
There was one in maybe a year ago or so where we landed on an asteroid and it got stuck or something in a crevice. Whatever happened with that?
Okay, so that mission, known as Rosetta, is won by the European Space Agency that carried a NASA experiment, actually. But it had a cute little lander called Philae, really beautiful thing, that encountered a comet. And the nucleus of a comet, it's kind of like an asteroid that emits stuff. And it got into a geometry when it landed on this rugged world that was very difficult to maintain communication stuff. But they still got fantastic data because the engineers and scientists working with Rosetta did a fabulous job. And ours on this mission on OSIRIS-REx are equally good, and we're going to be ready for anything as we get there.
Wow. It's just fascinating stuff. So how is there a way for us to follow it? Do you have a website or something?
We do. If you go to www.nasa.gov/OSIRIS-REx, OSIRIS-REx, you can follow everything we're doing and watch the progress today. And next year, as we start the imaging and the mapping, and then eventually the big touch and go on July 4th, 2020.
I hope.
This is awesome.
I hope the kids of today are as excited about the space program as we were when we were kids. Robert and I are both old enough to remember the lunar landing and the early launches as well. So. Sometimes I think the kids don't understand why we're so excited when a rocket goes up.
Yeah.
So we kind of stay excited. Dr. Garvin, thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Well, thanks for having me, and really, thanks for your interest.
Yeah, very good. And we will keep up with it. We will be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Chris Foster. President Trump tweets this morning, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, who's obviously a madman who doesn't mind starving